name is Gardy, and this is Clear Life Combat. I have a guest that is zooming in. I'm going to let him introduce himself, and we're going to have some fun this morning. Hey, good morning. How's it going?
Hey, how you doing?
So if somebody hasn't had the chance to meet you, what's your name, where you at, and then we can talk about what you got going on.
Awesome. Yeah, my name is Joshua White. I live in Tampa, Florida, and I have worked in the music industry for like 10 years and touring and playing in bands. And I just about 4 years ago got into martial arts through Muay Thai and Jiu Jitsu. Lost like 135 pounds, and it's been an incredible journey. And I'm psyched to talk about it with y'all.
Yeah, so it's going to be fun. I remember seeing you out touring like all over the world. You were even in Thailand, had the chance to train over there, and that's whenever Greg Sanzo was over there. What was that experience like?
So I had probably been doing Muay Thai for not even 3 or 4 months, and I was still like 340 pounds when I went there. And I went from training in like an intro kickboxing class to being, oh, I'm in Thailand. I want to try this out. And it might have been the hardest day of my life, but it was awesome. Sanzo was there. So it was like there was familiarity, and I felt like I was very taken care of, but it was definitely eye opening to what Muay Thai really looked like. I can't wait to, at this point in my life, go back and experience it when I've actually been training.
What is it that drew you into combat sports to even go and try that kickboxing class?
Well, honestly, a big part of it was I was watching what Sanzo was doing with his life living in Thailand and fighting. And I was getting really, really big. Like I said, I was about 365 pounds. And I was so unhealthy, like walking up a set of stairs would make me like heavy breathe and take breaks. And I just had no quality of life. And then I had a health scare. I went to the doctor, and the next day I joined the next day I tried one Muay Thai gym. I didn't really like it.
Mm-hmm.
And then the day after that, I said, well, I'm going to keep trying until I find one I like. The day after that, we walked into Gracie Tampa South. And then that night I was like, okay, this is where I'm going to be. And I've been there ever since, just trading with those guys every day.
Yeah, there's any UFC card that you see, you'll see people training out of Gracie Tampa South, the UFC grappling, the Invitational that they had. There's guys there, and then I guess even the CFFC or the thing that they had out there in New Jersey, there was guys from Gracie Tampa South as well. There's people at the highest level that are training that you train with, right?
Absolutely, yeah. And I didn't know anything about this when I joined the gym. Billy Q, who's the man who's killing it in the UFC, still is actually the intro Muay Thai coach. And so I walked in there not knowing anything about this, not knowing who this guy was going to be, and I hit it off with him. Awesome. He was going through a knee surgery and rehabilitation. He would like text me and be like, "Hey, go to the gym with me at like 5 in the morning and do conditioning." That dude is like huge, huge reason why I am where I am today. And it's crazy that I got to see him, just destroy people in the UFC. And I think he's one of the best dudes on the roster, And then we have, like you said, CFFC. Like we have a bunch of our dudes fighting that. We have guys like Matt Frivola just fought on Saturday and knocked the dude out in the first round. Like it's really cool because I stumbled into this gym and now I get to train with like some of the best people in the sport, and it's really, really inspiring to be around them.
What was your first taste of competition, or were you from the beginning when you realized, hey, this is where I'm at, I want to compete one day?
When I first joined, I remember saying, I don't even want to spar. I just want to lose weight. And I hated jujitsu. Um, so probably for the first couple years, it was just Muay Thai. I only did start doing jujitsu about 2 years ago. So I did a couple like Muay Thai, PKB or smokers, and I liked that because eventually, as much as you said, I said I wasn't going to spar. Before you knew it, I was in the sparring room and I loved it. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to fight. I just want to move around with these guys. And then before you knew it, I'm like, oh, I have a chance to see how the training works against this guy. Loved it. Was never really focused on jujitsu until like the pandemic, to be honest. I took an actual sanctioned Muay Thai fight in South Carolina in October of 2020. And I learned that super heavyweight has a very vast um, body type. So I fought a dude, I probably weighed in at 240, 245, and he weighed at least 360. And, we were having a couple fun exchanges, but he got tired and started throwing everything in the kitchen sink at me. And I got to experience getting knocked out in front of a bunch of people. It was great. Uh, but I still don't regret doing it. It was a great fight. And then after that, I started just, still training Muay Thai, but I couldn't do any sort of, I couldn't get hit in the head.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, I'm just going to go to jujitsu a lot more right now. And I started really focusing on jujitsu during that. And then, man, that has been so much fun. I think I said right about 2 years in now. Just a blue belt. You know, I got smoked every time I competed at white belt, but at blue belt last year, I started competing very heavily. I think I had 16 matches last year. I won 11 of them,
Wow.
and it was really fun. I have so much to learn. I don't really know what I'm doing still, but I definitely enjoy it. I love Muay Thai still, but it's funny to see that like my kind of I was never jujitsu guy, and now I catch myself like competing way more in jujitsu and wanting to do more jujitsu and just doing Muay Thai just because I love it, you know?
Yeah. Well, do you plan to compete more in Muay Thai in the future, or just focus
Uh,
right now?
I have to get, at least I have to finish doing Muay Thai on a win. So for sure, at least one more.
You know so you've traveled everywhere, all over the country, numerous times, just working. How has that prepared you for combat sports? I mean, does that make it easier to travel, go to South Carolina, go to Vegas? What do you think?
Uh, it feels very, very normal. Like, to me, like the idea of like staying at a friend's floor when I gotta go compete in another city is like so easy to me because I just crash on floors across the country. In fact, this summer, because my wife's a school teacher and I work, in the music industry remote. So right when I knew that things were going to come back full and I wouldn't be able to have the time to do it, I was like, well, before my job comes back in full swing, let's just do a road trip. So me and my wife drove from Tampa all the way to Seattle and back, and we stopped at like gyms all across the country. It was awesome. So like and it felt like tour, except for instead of having to go to a show, I had to have someone try to choke me out.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your wife, she's down. Does she train at all, or what does she think about everything?
She loves it because it's been something that has brought health and wellness to my life. She hates watching me do any sort of Muay Thai or kickboxing matches. She won't do that. She doesn't mind the jujitsu. And like she'll train. Like when we were in Texas, we went to drop in at one of Sanzo's classes, and I did the jujitsu before, and then she has no desire to mess with jujitsu. She doesn't like the proximity.
Yeah.
But she hopped in Sanzo's kickboxing class, and she would do like a lot. Like when we were in ambush Muay Thai in Austin, she hopped in and did a Muay Thai class. So she'll dabble with it, but just for like getting a good cardio workout in. She's more so is like into just going to the gym to work out, not
Hmm.
to. She does not want a punch thrown at her in any capacity.
Yeah. What about some of the places that you have been able to hit? Just traveling all over the country and training. What were some of the favorite spots?
Oh man, there was so many. Well, first of all, I want to give a plug to my friend's spot, just 2 hours north, the Block Muay Thai. I think it's some of the best Muay Thai coaching I've ever seen. It's all hardcore dudes that come from the community that they it's so to me, anytime I can train with a dude who comes from hardcore, I'm stoked because they kind of know the world that I grew up in. But besides that, they're just like some of the most real deal, great people, great coaches, and they're just 2 hours north in Gainesville. So check out the Block Muay Thai. I'm going to definitely plug them. Uh, Also, I think some of the my favorite spots I went to on that trip was this place called the Resistance in Northern California. It's run by Eddie Abasalo. That was awesome to train with him. He's a legend, one of my favorite fighters to watch. In South Florida, Asa Tinpao has a place called FKA. I was just there last weekend. Really great training with him. On the jiu-jitsu side, I loved training at 10th Planet Las Vegas with Coach Casey. That was a really, really, really awesome and welcoming, warm gym environment, great culture. There's so many places we went, but like those are three of my favorite out of town gyms I've ever went to. Then there's 8 Points Muay Thai in Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Before my fight, I did like half my camp there just because they have a bunch of really awesome heavyweights. Those guys are super accommodating and warm. And it's crazy. Like you see all these like fight gyms that have like world champions and you would assume that they'd be brutal, um, but they're like the nicest people, just like not in the ring if you're fighting them, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And
Earlier you mentioned about hardcore people transitioning over. Do you find that a lot? Like in those other places, people have that background for some reason?
oh, absolutely. I was, at like probably one out of every three gyms, there'd be like a dude in a terror shirt, or like somebody who would recognize me from back when I was touring full time, or like that we were already social media friends. Like, oh, what are you doing here? And like, oh, that's cool. Like, I think that it's important, um, for people from that community, because there's a lot of aggression. There's a lot of, sometimes misplaced anger. I think that it's good to find something like martial arts where you can have a constructive way to get it out,
Yeah. You're probably one of the hardest working musicians that I've had the chance to meet personally. Just making it happen, by yourself and then working with others and finding like-minded people. But you've been busy, and it's really cool. What you're doing. It's been fun to watch, even on social media.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, it's life is all about experience. That's what I try to do. Is like we have the road trip that was fun, and then I know we were talking before we got on the podcast, about like my experience with like the Daisy Fresh guys. To me, it was like, okay, we did this trip, but I knew I didn't want to just go there for one day and train, because it was so wild. I was like, oh, I want to go. I only want to go there if I can go there for over a week, so I can get the full experience. And I'll say that is, besides my home gym, that is one of the coolest places I've ever been. Like, those dudes were incredible. It was the hardest workouts I've ever had. And like you watch the documentary, and I think that just scratches the surface of how hard those guys work. And that was a really cool experience to live and stay with them, and get beat up by them every single day.
Yeah, and when you say live with, I saw, I think on a story, on your Instagram story, sleeping in the car, but that's just how it is there. What's that like?
Well, so I gotta be completely honest. I slept in the car a couple days, and then Alejandro was like, "Hey, we have some space at the fighter house. You can come stay here." So because I wasn't living there, I didn't stay in the gym the entire time. I definitely took advantage of the hot shower and a warm couch to sleep on. But I did stay in my car for the first 2 or 3 nights there, and I drove up there and back. But it was awesome. That's like the one of the most respectable group of guys. Like, everyone was so friendly, so like my offensive wrestling is trash, and in a wrestling class, I was trying to just defensively wrestle, like stuff the shot, grab the front headlock. And I just remember Alejandro like, "Oh, that's really good that you know how to do that, but like that's not going to help you get better at anything else, so stop doing it." And then the guys were just destroying me, with the quickness. But he said, if you can make it through wrestling class, we'll know you can hang. And then at the end of wrestling class, he's like, "Yo, good job. It was awesome." And it was a very fun week. I definitely was sore as heck on the drive. Heck, see, I said heck. I was very sore on the drive home, though. I'll say that.
And have you been able to stay in contact with some of the guys there as well?
Oh yeah, all the time. Definitely. Like, actually, I'm starting a podcast, and our first guest this week is going to be Alejandro, and definitely a good friend of mine now. It's someone that I would consider like, a homie, not just a dude I trained with.
Yeah. What's the podcast going to be about? What's it going to entail?
So it's going to be about hardcore and combat sports, and like the intersection and cross between them, and how the two benefit each other, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Cool. And so that Alejandro's the first guest on that. And when can we expect it? And what's it called?
It's called Give Blood Podcasts. We're going to be recording it in the next 2 or 3 days. And I think the first episode should be live early next week, actually.
Awesome. Cool. So that's going to be exciting. Make sure that you check that out whenever it drops. But if somebody does want to follow you on social media so they can keep up, or, whenever the podcast drops and all that stuff, what's your social media?
Mine is Josh from FL. And the podcast is just Give Blood Podcasts. I'm sorry, my dog is being ridiculous.
What kind of dog do you have?
I have a little pit bull. She wants to play.
Awesome. Hey, let's talk about the music side. Like I mentioned earlier, you're the hardest working person that I've met personally when it comes to constantly touring, hitting up people, putting on tours for other people as well. What do you have going on right now in the music industry?
Yeah, I run a small, well, it's a large amount of bands, but still, in the grand scheme of things, pretty small. Booking agency called State of Mind Touring. We take care of a ton of hardcore band and metal bands, tour schedule. Um, I do management for a few artists, and I am a production manager for a local guy. So pretty much everything I do is within the music world. It's great though, because it's allows me to work for my favorite bands. I love it.
Yeah. How has the music industry changed? 10 years ago, 12 years ago, till now, what have you seen?
I mean, it's very different. I feel like a lot of bands are. It used to be like every young band would go out and tour for like months. Now everyone's just doing like. There's a lot more like weekend trips and like flyouts. A lot more like I guess quality over quantity. I see as a big takeaway. Also now like to be successful in music, you have to have like really really good social media presence. When before that didn't really matter. It's changing. I think it's changing for the good. It's cool. It's there's a lot of really like hardcore right now. I feel like has a bunch of incredible young and up and coming bands, and it's really cool to watch.
Yes. And you're out there in Florida, but how close is that to Orlando? I haven't had the chance to go to Florida. Is it close?
It's like a hour and a half drive.
Okay, so yeah, later this week I'm gonna be talking to some people. One of my buddies has a promotion that he's just recently started. It's kind of blown up over this since 2020, but it's called Combat Sports Coverage. But they're putting on their first Florida event, and
Oh yeah,
you were one of the first people I thought of. I was like, man, I don't know, it's just like right there. But I guess the combat sports scene there and the hardcore music scene there, I mean, they're pretty big, right?
yeah. Actually, shout out to one of my teammates, Matt Allison. He's going to be competing on that.
Okay.
So we're really excited. Yeah, make sure you watch his matches. He's a killer. Yeah, he's gonna. I feel bad for whoever he is paired with for that match.
Yeah. And I think so. Combat sports coverage, they just got picked up by Flow Grappling, and that's going to be the first event that is going to be on there as well. So shout out to them. And what's your friend's name one more time?
Matt Allison.
Matt Allison. Cool. I'll
Yeah,
make sure to watch it for sure.
yeah, he's really good.
Okay. So last year you said you competed how many times in jiu-jitsu?
I think like 5 or 6 tournaments, but I had like 16 matches.
Yeah. And overall, I mean, you said you won about 11, which is a great. And did something just clicked for you whenever you got to blue belt? You think, or what is it that kind of led that shift?
I'm just very stubborn. So I'm not technical yet. I'm still learning my game. I'm still trying to um, get more comfortable, but I just like you're gonna kill me if before I'm gonna tap, and that's kind of where it was at with most of those matches. I mean, I granted I did get subbed I think twice, um, but for the most part I've won just because I'm more bullheaded than the person that I'm competing with. So a lot of times people have held me and stuff and thought, oh, he must not be feeling it. And I'm like, that was rough. But
Yeah.
then they burn their arms out and then I pass their guard, you know,
Yeah.
and then it's over from there.
Yeah. Just have like that poker face. Like that's nothing, right? And then how about in training? Do you do that as well? And some of your teammates get annoyed with it?
No, I'm a little bit more humble on the training mat, but I like to see where the wall is. Like I know
Yeah.
that sounds kind of messed up, but I like to see how far I can go. I like to see where my pain threshold is and how much I can take. And then that helps me when I'm in competition, like, okay, I don't need to tap here. I've felt this pain before.
Yeah. Whenever it comes to performing, whether that's a hardcore show or leading a band, there's an adrenaline that's there. There's also an adrenaline that can come whenever you are competing in combat sports. Are they similar at all, and do you handle them the same way?
I don't. So I've been playing in bands since I was 13. So like that's like 19 or 20 years. So I don't ever feel like nervous to play a show. I do feel very nervous when I stand in a ring and there's another guy trying to knock me out.
Yeah.
There's definitely a bit of a nervous energy there. Um, but even with jujitsu, like I'll definitely be nervous because I don't want to underperform in front of my friends or my teammates, which ultimately no one cares if you win or lose. That's one big thing that I've taken away. Like your friends are just stoked that you're doing it.
Hmm.
They're not like judging you or whatever. But in my head, I'm like, oh, I have to do this right. Everyone's watching. And then that stresses me out. But I think that an actual kickboxing, Muay Thai, or MMA fight, I think it has to be probably the most adrenaline because you're actually, oh, this guy's trying to bludgeon me in the head with his fists.
Yeah. Well, how do you handle that?
You just have to jump in the deep end and go.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can do. You can't. If you think about how stressed you are, it's gonna make you not work. So I guess learning how to perform under pressure.
Yeah. And there's a lot. There's definitely a lot of pressure. Okay, right now it's 10:23. This is Clear Life Combat. My name is Gardy. I have the opportunity to talk to Joshua White. He is out in Florida, trains out of Gracie Tampa South. And last year you did some pretty cool things. This year, what does it look like for you ideally?
This year I definitely want to compete a lot more. I'm hoping to do pans. I'm hoping to do Master Worlds. I'm definitely focusing on more of the IBJJF stuff as opposed to like a ton of local tournaments, just because it's pretty expensive
Mm-hmm.
to compete a bunch. But I just want to do well. Like I didn't have a great showing, I feel like, at the World Masters in Vegas, a couple months ago, and I really want to get a chance to have a better performance. But that means cutting a lot more weight because I can't fight in this ultra heavyweight bracket anymore. Tired of getting matched with dudes 100 pounds heavier than me for my qualifier.
Yeah. Yeah.
So right now I'm just big focused on like getting my nutrition dialed in, cutting weight, and getting better so I can stop being just a stubborn brand new blue belt, but actually someone who understands jiu-jitsu more.
Mm-hmm. So whenever I met you, a long time ago, I don't think you had, like there was a vegan lifestyle and you changed your diet at some point. I think the second time that we crossed paths again, you had lost, quite a bit of weight as well. What does your diet and nutrition look like right now?
Well, for any of my friends watching this that don't know, they might be a little bummed to hear it here, but I was vegan for 10 years, but I put on all the weight and I was having a very, very hard time cutting weight as vegan. I think I got to the point where I had lost the 135, which is awesome, but I completely plateaued for like months and months and months. And I got my panels pulled and my body wasn't metabolizing a lot of the supplements I was using. So right now I'm just eating very clean, but I am not eating vegan at the moment. I'm trying to figure things out. So right now I'm eating very, very high protein, clean meat, and lots of vegetables, and minimal carbs, only like before or after training.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm eating your pretty standard uh, fighting weight cut diet right now.
Awesome. What about do you work out, lift weights as well, or is it mainly just the cardio side that comes with training and rolling and everything else?
I'm lifting weights now 5 to 6 days a week, but just like supersets of like bodybuilder workout stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very low weight, high rep, short workouts, like, working one muscle group each day.
Is that something that came pretty easily to you whenever you first started, I guess, lifting?
I actually just started that program like a month ago, because I was doing like a pretty standard like split that you would hear other people do, but I hated how it made me feel when I was working multiple muscle groups every day
Yeah.
that I worked out, because I was always too blown out the next day.
Yeah. I feel you. Okay. Well, cool. Right now, we're talking to Joshua White. There's a lot of stuff going on. He's a very busy guy. You can follow him at Josh from Florida on social media as well. And I'm excited to see where everything keeps going. And I'm excited for the Give Blood podcast that's going to be launching soon with Alejandro from Pedigo and the Daisy Fresh guys out there. And I love watching all that stuff on Flow Grappling. It's really cool. I watched the Who's Number One, and I think they were teasing that they're filming the third season right now or something. But I'm excited to see all that stuff come out.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's such a cool place. Like the documentary is great. It's entertaining. And it's cool that people are like real people. You get to see a glimpse of like people bettering themselves through martial arts, which I think is what it's all about.
Yeah, that's the goal. And everybody has to find something. That outlet.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know who I would be if I didn't find this stuff. Like I'm not. It's cool to do an interview because I'm not like some like accomplished fighter or like some real deal grappler. I'm just a blue belt who got knocked out in a Muay Thai fight. But I will talk about combat sports forever because it changed my life. It gave me the motivation and discipline, and it's taught me the tools that I need to have a better life, you know, whether that be physically or even mentally, like the cognitive benefit. I'm sorry, my dog is being ridiculous.
No, it's what's the dog's name?
Maggie.
Maggie.
Here, come here, Maggie.
Let's see Maggie. So if you're watching on social media,
Well, this is Bart. This is the other one.
okay, this is Bart.
He's interrupting me.
So you had mentioned that you had lost 130 pounds, which is a crazy accomplishment. Do you plan to keep losing more?
Yeah, I want to lose at least another 20, so I can be at super heavyweight, not ultra heavyweight.
Yeah. So that's the plan. That's the goal. Compete as much as you can for the rest of this year, and just try and be a better martial artist, which makes you a better person.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Is there anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to mention or bring up or plug?
No, I just want to, encourage anyone who is nervous to get into the gym to go try it out, because I had no mobility, no flexibility, no previous context for what MMA or martial art was. I thought it was just like bro stuff that was whack, but I needed to try something. And then the values I learned in the gym have just made me overall such a better person. And I think that we all could use a little bit of manufactured strife that you get from fighting another person or rolling with another person to make you deal with problems in the real world. So yeah, try it if you're on the fence about it. I want to give a big shout out to my friends, King State Coffee. They're a local coffee company out here in Tampa. They always take care of me before anytime I go do any competitions. My best friend in the world runs a clothing company called American Barbell Club, and also a powerlifting gym. Also one of the biggest reasons why I've lost the weight is because of the accountability from friends like him. So go to his store, ABC Strong, and go buy everything that he has, because he's the best dude in the world. And yeah,
Awesome.
a big thanks to all my teammates at Gracie Tampa South for holding me accountable every single day.
All right, cool. Well, thank you so much for making some time. I appreciate you, and we'll have to catch up again soon, okay?
Absolutely. And sorry, my dogs are being a little bit ridiculous there.
No, it's fine. All right, this is Gardy, Clear Life Combat.